Look, today, I mean, it was just, I'm on overload. And the first thing I thought of was, I wonder what you were thinking of all of this. And you said right after the debate last night, you did.
Well, I did a Facebook Live. I did a Facebook Live broadcast after the vice presidential debate last night, and I did. Can you hear me? Okay.
I've got to put on so that I can follow you, so that when you do these, they pop up.
Okay.
You know,
yeah.
Because I hate that I missed that. But give me your take. Let's start with the most recent news.
Okay.
That you're looking at, the white supremacist.
Right. Well, it was going through. I heard the story when it broke earlier today. I saw the press conference that she did. I saw the press conference that members of law enforcement did. I watched the coverage on MSNBC. So this plot here was more detailed, and it went farther than some other plots. There were more people involved. We have a total of 13 people who've been arrested on federal and state charges. Now, reading the reporting from NBCnews.com and other outlets, it said that Governor Whitmer, it does not seem that she was in imminent threat or imminent danger, but they were much further in the plotting process. So it's disturbing, but it's not surprising when you have a white supremacist, white nationalist like Donald John Trump in office who is encouraging this type of behavior. If we go back to the Tuesday, September 29th presidential debate, when he was put on the spot and asked to denounce white supremacists, and he told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. He didn't tell them to stand down or to stop. He said, stand back and stand by. And stand by means to wait until you are needed. Wait until you're called for. If we go back to...
Be ready.
Yeah, be ready.
Be ready.
Yeah, be ready. And Merriam-Webster, after the debate, Merriam-Webster put out the definition of stand back and stand by. So he's dog whistling. If we go back to early in the year when the protests were taking place at the state capitals, like the state of Michigan, Donald Trump was tweeting, liberate Michigan, liberate these various states that had Democratic governors, and encouraging his supporters, a lot of these white nationalist supporters, to show up. Okay, a lot of these militia groups to show up, and this is what they did. And if you look at the reporting from WXYZ Channel 7, and they have the article right on their website, WXYZ.com, photo shows 2 suspects in kidnapping plot in Michigan Capitol. So it shows 2 of the 13 suspects that were arrested today. They were at the Michigan Capitol at one of these demonstrations. Okay, so
at that big demonstration where all the guys came with all the guns and all
yes,
that,
yes,
and
yes,
stormed the Capitol.
Yeah,
so
yes. So
okay,
2.
So they've been at this a while. They've been at this for a while.
Oh, well, it's a number of these groups that are active for a while. And if we go back and just look at FBI Director Christopher Wray, he just testified, and Washington Post has the article from September, I think this is September 17th, 2020. Christopher Wray testified that these white supremacist, white nationalist organizations lethal threat when it comes to domestic terrorism. They are the white nationalist, white supremacist organizations are the most lethal threat. Okay, it's not Muslim groups, it's not Black Lives Matter, it's not Antifa. Okay, as Donald Trump wants you to believe, Antifa is not even an organization; it's an ideology. Okay, it's these white supremacist, white nationalist organizations that Donald Trump encourages and dog whistles to, and this is probably reason number 102 that he must be voted out of office and must be defeated.
Absolutely. The debate last night.
Yes.
What's your take on it?
Oh, well, I had about 20,000 people that viewed the broadcast I did last night on the African History Network Facebook fan page. Well, we have 1 million followers. We have 1 million followers on our fan page. So Kamala Harris did a superb job last night. Now, she was in a tricky position. People have to understand. She could have gone real hard on him. She could have gone straight California, Oakland, or whatever it is on Mike Pence, but she didn't want to come off as the angry black woman. Okay, because there was a couple of times I know she wanted to really go in on him because he kept interrupting her and cutting her off. And I know that on MSNBC on the debate recap, Joanne Reed and Nicole Wallace and other women were talking about how every woman watching that knows what it feels like to be in a business meeting, to be in a meeting or something like that, and have men interrupt you. Okay, so that did not play well for him.
But I know the feeling.
Yes,
I know the feeling. I can totally relate to that.
Yes, absolutely,
Totally.
absolutely. And so she did. I think she did a superb job. There were a few things I think she could have done better, but she did much. She looked very presidential. She looked more presidential than Donald Trump. She also had, people have to understand, they were not given the questions ahead of time, so there was a massive amount of information that she had to study as well to prepare for this. She was much better prepared than Mike Pence. And also one of the things I did was I did fact checking. This is what I do after debates, going back, years. I do fact checking after the debates. We look at the fact checking from the Washington Post, New York Times, and NBC News. So she had a greater majority of her statements that were more truthful than Mike Pence's statements also. Okay, so she, her main job was not to do any harm to Joe Biden last night. She didn't do any harm. She helped. I think she helped Joe Biden, but also she really talked to America and showed the difference between an agenda from a Biden-Harris administration and their policies, and an agenda from 4 more years of Trump-Pence. Okay. And one of the things that Pence did not want to answer is dealing with repealing the Affordable Health Care Act and kicking 20 million people off of health care and repealing pre-existing conditions. Okay. Because people have to understand that case goes before the U.S. Supreme Court November 10th, 2020, 1 week after the presidential election. Donald Trump is trying to take away health care from 20 million people during the global pandemic, which is largely his fault. The pandemic here in the U.S. Okay, the effect, 7.5 million people infected, about 212,000 have died. Okay, this is largely his fault because of his incompetency, and now he has the best health care in America. Our taxpayer dollars pay for his health care. 2016, 2017, based upon the extensive reporting from the New York Times, he paid $750 in taxes those 2 years. But we pay for his health care so he can get experimental drugs, and he can talk about he feels 20 years younger, but he's trying to take away health care from 20 million people at the same time.
I mean, I think it's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Absolutely.
And then today he comes out and says that getting COVID was a blessing from God.
Well, he's partly correct. It's a blessing from God, but it's not a blessing to him. He's partly correct. See, this is karma. Go to abcnews.com. You got at least 34 people in the White House or part of the Trump campaign who have coronavirus. Stephen Miller, who helped engineer the separation of migrant children at the border. You have Kellyanne Conway, who's left the White House, who who popularized the term alternative facts. You have his current White House press secretary.
And her daughter has it, her 14-year-old daughter.
Her 14-year-old daughter has it, but her 14-year-old daughter has exposed Kellyanne Conway in a lot of Kellyanne Conway's positions. Kelly McEnany.
Well, she's trying to emancipate herself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that. And Kellyanne Conway's husband, George Conway, is part of the Lincoln Project, but he has stepped away from that to really focus on his family. Right. Okay. And Kellyanne Conway resigned from her position from the White House to focus on her family. Okay. But you have all these people. You have Governor Chris Christie, who helped with the debate prep for Trump. He's still in the hospital. He's been in the hospital 6 days. He has coronavirus, but he also has asthma. Okay. So go ahead. Kelly McEnany, his current White House press secretary that stands there and lies at the White House press conferences every day. She has it as well, but also the people who work in her office for the people on the White House press team. They have it as well.
We even have housekeeping staff. These people have nothing to do with politics.
Right.
They just have jobs at the White House. Many of them have worked there through several
decades.
Administrations.
Exactly.
One person has been employed 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have it.
See,
they got to clean his dirty bathroom.
Well, this is an example of how Trump doesn't care about anybody except himself. Melania Trump has it as well. Okay, this is an example of how he doesn't care about anybody except himself, which is a number 103, reason number 103 why he needs to be voted out of office. Because see, elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. You follow politics.
Yes.
And you certainly follow, you're a historian of African American history and African history. Now let's go back a little further. So much has happened this year. Mm-hmm. Breonna Taylor.
Yes.
George Floyd. The person that killed George Floyd is out on $1 million bond. Where did he get $1 million?
Well, that was usually in a situation like that, the police union helps raise that money. They get donations, mm-hmm. things like that. So that's all procedural. I expected that to happen. It was $1 million cash bond. Usually in situations like that, eventually they're going to get out on bail. I've covered a number of police shootings. There's 4 main things I focus on: mm-hmm. Charging, prosecution, conviction, and sentencing. Everything else in between, I really don't focus on that because that's all par for the course. It comes with the territory. They're going to get out on bail. They'll try to smear George mm-hmm. Floyd's name. And then actually, if you go back and if you look now, what's really interesting is when you look at the president of the Minneapolis Police Department, of the Minneapolis Police Union. Okay, the president of the Minneapolis Police Union, because it was Minneapolis where George Floyd was killed, right, May 25th. The president of the Minneapolis Police Union, his name is Lieutenant Bob Kroll, Kroll. NewYorkMag.com has a big article about this. He is a Trump supporter, and in 2019 he was at a Trump rally wearing a Trump for Cops for Trump T-shirt. Well, in June 1st, 2020, TheGuardian.com had an article entitled "Anger as Local Police Union Chief Calls George Floyd a Violent Criminal." When you go and research this, people did not really understand what was taking place in the 2016 presidential election. I know we're coming up on break in 4 minutes. Donald Trump was a backlash to 2 terms of President Barack Obama. He was a backlash to the Black Lives Matter movement and any perceived gains that African Americans made. But Donald Trump was Richard Nixon all over again. Richard Nixon in 1968, who ran on the platform of law and order and won. And Richard mm-hmm. Nixon was a backlash. He brought about the end of the Second Reconstruction, which was the Civil Rights Movement. Richard Nixon was a backlash
but he left in disgrace, didn't he?
Well, he left in disgrace. Well, he left in disgrace, but he launched the war on drugs June 17th, 1971, which brought about mass incarceration because the U.S. prison population quadruples from 1970 to 1993. It goes from 300,000 in 1970 to 1.3 million in 1993. But you have to understand, Nixon ran on the platform of law and order, which means protect white people and lock up African Americans. And he was a backlash to the rebellions that were taking place in 66 and 67, like the one here in July, 67 in Detroit. He was a backlash to the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement. He was a backlash to affirmative action, things like this, okay? This is the game that Trump ran in 2016 that he's trying to run again now, where he's playing on white fears. Go ahead.
Do you see history repeating itself?
Absolutely. History definitely repeats itself, especially for those that don't know it. If we understood Nixon in 68, we would have saw Trump coming in 2016 and stopped him. And Donald Trump had a campaign advisor early on in his campaign named Roger Stone. Roger Stone was a campaign advisor and friend of Richard Nixon. He's known as the Dirty Trickster. And Roger Stone has a tattoo of Richard Nixon's face between his shoulder blades. If we understood, go ahead.
I thought that was very bizarre.
Well, look at how many people around.
He might put a Trump tattoo since Trump pardoned him. Maybe he could get a Trump tattoo as well.
Roger Stone has the goods on Trump. Roger Stone knows what Trump has done, so Trump had to pardon him. Okay, so Donald Trump had another early campaign advisor and friend, either campaign advisor formally or informally. Okay. And This campaign advisor was a good friend of Roger Stone, and he went on to found the Fox News network. Okay, and he ended up having to resign.
Yeah.
He ended up having to resign from Fox News in disgrace. Okay. That was his name. His name escapes me at the time. It'll come to me here in just a minute. It's not Robert Murdoch. It's the other one. I forgot.
No, Rupert Murdoch was the newspaper.
Yeah, Rupert. Yeah, but it's the other one. It'll come to me. But they were all friends. Okay, this is the guy who founded the Fox News network. Now, when you study why Fox News was founded, Roger Ailes, yeah, and Roger Ailes passed away a few years ago. God bless his heart. But when Roger Ailes founded the Fox News network because he felt if Nixon had a TV network to take his side in the Watergate scandal, he would not have been impeached. This is why the Fox News network was founded. Well, whose side did the Fox News network take in the impeachment trial of Donald Trump that happened in February this year? They took Trump's side.
Trump.
That's why they were founded in the first place. Founded by Roger Ailes, who was an ally and friend of Richard Nixon.
Getting back, because we're, I think, 2 minutes before we go break, what did you think of the commentator at the debate last night? Okay, so Susan Page at USA Today, she was the moderator. She did not do really a good job. She should have jumped in and really held Pence and scolded Pence earlier on. And there was one point in the debate. Now, this is so Susan Page, I think, did a better job than Christopher Wallace. Her job was not as hard as Christopher Wallace's job because Trump was just totally ignorant. OK, but there was one point in the debate where Mike Pence, VP Mike Pence, interrupted Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris stopped and let him take over. Don't ever do that. Shut them down. Don't let them take over. I would have said reclaiming my time, like Maxine Waters. Right. Okay. She did say once, could she have her time back? No, she did say that. She did say that. But don't stop. Right. Don't stop talking when you have the floor and let them interrupt because Pence kept going. But Susan Page should have done a much better job of moderating that. She should have done a much better job and shut down Pence. I agree with you that Chris Wallace was not that great either. But no offense to newspaper writers, because this woman is an excellent writer. But when you work for the Times or the Wall Street Journal, any of these papers, you just write and you get all your little thoughts in and all your thoughts out. I was talking to Leslie Andrews, who's coming on the next segment. I know Leslie. Comparing TV people, radio people, we're used to timing. We're used to, you got 30 seconds. And that's it. Right. The newspaper people are all over the map, and I don't think they're really accustomed to this kind of broadcast. Right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Michael, stay with us. Okay. All right, stand by, everybody. How's everybody doing? Hey, I am a guest on Charlene Mitchell's show on 9:10 AM, the Superstation WFDF. So that's the radio station. I do my show on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're talking about the plot of this white Michigan militia to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. You all saw me post about this today. This is a crazy, crazy story. And Governor Gretchen Whitmer is a Democratic governor, white female, and she's oftentimes a target of Donald Trump's criticism. OK, she issued executive orders to shut down non-essential businesses here in Michigan. She had to do that to save lives because of a derelict in duty and a lack of a national plan to combat coronavirus coming from the White House. OK, so this plot was exposed today by the FBI. You had 13 white men who were arrested. None of these men are members of Black Lives Matter, just so people understand, because Donald Trump wants Black Lives Matter reclassified as a domestic terrorist organization. No, these are white supremacists. These are domestic terrorists right here. OK. All right. So we're on commercial break. How's everybody doing? Also, if you like this type of information, you could donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN show through Cash App, $, the AHN show through Cash App, PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show through PayPal. Now, I did a
We did a post VP debate fact check analysis and recap last night. Is here on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. So check that out. On my Sunday night show, so we got 20,000 views last night. On my Sunday night show, we'll continue with some additional fact checking because I did 2.5 hours last night. We'll deal with some additional things, some additional topics to fact check, to talk about that I couldn't get to last night. So I'm on every Sunday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about Kamala Harris. We'll fact check Kamala Harris, prosecutorial record, things like that, because there's a lot of misinformation floating around, a lot of these ignorant memes. They don't cite any sources because what they're spreading are basically lies. Okay. And, Tulsi Gabbard, at one of the presidential debates, Tulsi Gabbard, said that Kamala Harris prosecuted 1,500 people for marijuana possession. She said Harris put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations, and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. Now, then you have this stupid ass meme that people keep circulating, like some of these people posting right now on this thread. It doesn't cite any sources, and it said that she put 1,500 black men in jail. Tulsi Gabbard did not talk about race or gender. So how did the meme translate over 1,500 people in jail? How did the meme translate to 1,500 black men in jail? And it cites no sources. Where did that come from? You have to do more research before you post a lot of this nonsense. And then the original statement from Tulsi Gabbard came from a right-wing conservative online news website called The Free Beacon. Okay, you got to research this stuff. That's what we do here. Read this article from politifact.com that goes through the fact check. And I talked about this back in August. Okay, but you have a lot of gullible people out here that circulate BS.
And we're back here on Mind Your Business, and we are continuing our show. We're talking about all the various things that are happening in our world right now, that are happening here in the United States of America. We have Michael Imhotep, who is a host here on 910 AM.
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Tell everybody when your show comes on.
I'm on every Sunday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. This is my 4th year. Actually, this past April was 4 years doing radio here on 910. I've been doing radio 10 years in total. The African History Network show. And then also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Follow us on Facebook, The African History Network, where we have 1 million followers. And also on Twitter, The AHN Show on Twitter, The AHN Show on Twitter, and on Instagram.
Well, I don't know anybody who knows as much as you do about African history, African American history. I mean, I don't even know how you keep all this stuff in your head. And I'm so glad that you joined us tonight, because you're just always a great guest to talk about
thank you.
The current topics, and because you do all the research. I'm hoping that Leslie Andrews and...
Hello? Charlene? All right, maybe they hit the... Oh, we got disconnected. Let me call back. Just a second. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. Somehow we got disconnected. All right, so I'm a guest on Charlene Mitchell's show on 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF in Detroit, same station my radio show is on. Stand by. I'm calling back in. I'm waiting for them to pick up. So we're going to post a link to these articles here. I want you to read these articles. Proper documentation ends all conversation. You don't have to believe a word that I say. Go research this for yourself. The problem with a lot of people circulating a lot of these memes is they don't do research.
Okay. Sorry about that. Or I dropped the call there.
Okay.
Except for them. So when the president says, stand down, stand by, it says, hey, be ready to go when I say it's ready to go. Now, that's what I think they're doing.
Now, today, I mean, how surprised were you that because you are a sheriff, you may have known about the FBI investigation before the public did. We just found out today. But they're saying, you know, they're planning to kidnap the governor, possibly murder the governor, and we're also targeting law enforcement, specific law enforcement people. I guess they have names. They have released those names. But, you know, that's a frightening thought. Very frightening thought.
Throughout my career, as you are aware, Charlene, I've been doing this now. I will complete 46 years in April. So I've been around quite a while.
Wow.
And I have seen periods of time when we have gone through this where different groups of people have been threatening to law enforcement and members. As you know, we recently had 2 police officers gunned down sitting in their squad car. That is not something, unfortunately, that is unusual. We have people who have ambushed police officers over the course of my career. So, I mean,
and one recently killed in the jail.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Planning an escape. So when you hear about those things, we know in law enforcement that is part of what we have accepted as part of our job. We do the best we can to make sure that things like that do not happen to us. And we all want to go home every night. But, I mean, it's just a hazard of the job. And, you know, it doesn't happen often, but one time is one too many.
What did you think of the debate?
Oh, my God. You know, it's an interesting thing. You know, I grew up in the house with 5 very, very smart sisters, my mother and my grandmother, so 7 women. And I'm acutely aware of how difficult it is and the challenges that women have had in this country with equality. Their difference is their path for equal rights has been different than those of us who are African Americans. But imagine being an African American and then being a woman also, which you know about for sure, in the challenges that you have. I think Senator Harris handled herself with poise, in grace and dignity. The east side of Detroit in me would have wished she would have gone a little bit sister on it, but that probably would not have been received very well by a lot of other people. But I think
she knew that. I think she knew that. Well, let's bring a sister into the conversation. Ms. Leslie Andrews is on with us. We talked earlier today. What was your take, Leslie?
On the debate? Because I know you guys talked about the different subjects.
The debate.
Well, I believe that Senator Harris performed optimally, well within her skill set. I think she knew exactly what the task was. I think it was a smart decision to not channel anything that would come across as the angry black woman, which is just another distracting tactic to take away from what she was saying and focusing on how she was saying it. But I think she also did a very good job of establishing the necessary boundaries that white male privilege tends to violate on a regular basis. And even though he still got away with it overall, I think she was firm and she was direct and she was specific, and he got handled. And no, she didn't do the consummate black woman response. I happened to post on Facebook and got a lot of responses to the fact that most men know that you cannot out-debate a black woman. But, you know, I didn't envy the position that he was in. But I never had a doubt in my mind. Never had a doubt for a moment. She was practicing for him while he was sleeping. She had him for lunch.
Yes, she did.
I agree with that.
Yes.
When you heard about the threats to Gretchen Whitmer and law enforcement by these white supremacist groups, the Michigan militia, I guess they're calling them, on top of everything else that's going on, what was your first response, Leslie?
I refuse to give a reaction to the distraction. We're focused. There's something that needs to be done in November, and all of these other forces that, decide that they're going to all of a sudden show themselves. I just don't think it's a coincidence. I know that the FBI have been tracking them for quite a while, but I just think their movements were very intentional at this timing, and they've been supported by the president and his enablers. And this was the time for them to, I guess, make whatever moves they were going to make, or bring it forward, or maybe they became, an imminent threat. But it doesn't shock me at all. I'm actually paying attention to the audience. I'm paying attention to the people who look just like them, who had no idea that they existed, or if they knew they existed, had no idea that they were going to actually follow through on what they had been threatening. I'm looking at the people who were aware of them and seeing what they're going to do. It really doesn't matter what I'm going to do. At the end of the day, they've always, come on, you can walk into the Capitol with a long gun, but you can't go into the Capitol with a political sign. They've been aware of this long before they got on the FBI's radar. We already know about the double standards. So I'm looking at the audience and seeing who's actually supporting this, who's speaking out about it, who's in an uproar and outrage, and who's just sitting back looking at, business as usual. That's where I am.
Okay, well, you and Michael are going to be on the next segment as well, so we're going to give
I'm here.
Sheriff a little bit more time. What are you? When you get up every day and you go and you have, your staff, you have all these, sheriff's deputies out here, fighting crime, trying to keep people safe. How do you stay optimistic and focused in an atmosphere like the one we have right now?
Well, the one thing that I have going for me, and certainly there are those who differ, but, I'm a child of faith. I'm the son of a preacher. I have my religious foundation that keeps me focused. I understand the Lord knows how much I can bear. So me personally, I'm okay with that. I've been doing this a long time. I've been through civil disobediences. I've been through all kinds of serious crime for the longest. And I really understand that, we are well trained, we're well prepared, we're well supported, and we know what we're trained to do to respond to different situations. And my job is to make sure that I am leading folks and giving them the best form of leadership and preparing them to handle the stresses that they come in contact with every single day, making sure that they get the training and the supervision and the equipment and all the things that they need to do their job. It's difficult. We never have enough, but we always manage to get by. So I stay optimistic because I just really believe that irrespective of how imperfect this country is, we have tried to get a little bit better. And when we have people like the folks that are here who are speaking up and speaking out and keeping the injustices in the forefront and keeping it in folks' faces, and it's like, okay, we know this is happening, but we're not going to put up with it. I think the movement that is going around the country now as it relates to Black Lives Matter, police reform, those of us who are progressive police people understand that this is necessary. The system is broken.
Right.
I chose to try to fix the system from inside as opposed to staying outside. I was recruited by Coleman Young when we had a police department that was 90% white in a city that was predominantly black. I was recruited into an agency that was designed to change. So I've been on the forefront of that type of change in law enforcement my entire career. And so those are the things that keep me going in preparing the next generation for the struggle that will continue. It's not going to be over, certainly in my lifetime, and probably not the lifetime of anybody that's living, but we need to prepare the future generations for the struggle that has to continue.
Absolutely. Now, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, I think it was the FBI that was going around doing the sweep of illegal guns, and I guess they got hundreds of illegal guns. off the street in the city of Detroit. But we're in a time where we have the people like the militia, carrying guns, and they have arsenals of guns. And I think a lot of people are starting to want guns, people who never wanted a gun before. Mm-hmm. Even, women that are taking lessons and learning how to shoot a gun and buying guns. So what is this?
Charlene, before COVID, when Michigan became a shell issue state, which basically means unless you have some restriction, prior domestic abuse, mental health issues, those are the only reasons why you can't get a permit to carry a gun. We have been inundated with permits to purchase firearms since they changed the law. We can barely keep up. So you're absolutely right.
More people are buying guns, and it's out of fear.
More African Americans are buying guns too.
And they register and they buy, legally buy a gun and carry a gun. Now, what is this open carry thing?
Basically, open carry says that if you're in a public place, you can carry a gun as long as either a pistol or a long gun, as long as police can see that you're carrying it. It's totally legal.
And, that's just, I don't know, it's frightening to me.
It's frightening to me.
And I have a grown-up son who has been begging me to learn how to shoot a gun and to buy a gun. And, he's starting to make me think, well, do I need a gun? What if? Something, Leslie, I was getting ready to say, I bet you're packing.
I have a Walton PPK 380, and I have a Smith & Wesson 9mm.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And you know how to use it, don't you?
Indeed.
And why do you think more women should be trained in how to use guns?
Well, what's interesting is I was definitely afraid of guns when his best friend, literally the week after the funeral, said, "I'm taking you to class. You're not going because you're going to be in the house by yourself." And he signed me up for the class, and I did it, and I went to the range, and I actually found that I liked it. And I just kind of took it from there. I'm very aware of what I'm doing. I don't allow a gun to give me a false sense of security and some, artificial courage. I carry it only when I know I'm going to be out and it's going to be dark, and again, and I also, and this is interesting that Sheriff Napoleon is on there. I actually got nervous with carrying it because when you get pulled over now and you declare that kind of stuff and say you have it because of the way that the world is going right now, I'm afraid that I'll get shot by law enforcement by telling them that I do have it, even though I'm licensed to have it. So I'm very careful of how and when I interact with my guns. But yes, I have.
I'd like the sheriff to chime in on that.
Well, I think all of us, when I say us, I mean those of us who are African American, grew up. I had the conversation when I first started driving with my dad, what to do if you get stopped by police. And I'd strongly suggest that you have that conversation because even if I get stopped by the police, which I have on occasion been stopped, I do the same thing that I did if I wasn't a police officer. Both hands on top of the steering wheel where you can see the window down so you can talk to them. Tell them that I'm armed with a firearm. Tell them I'm a police officer. Ask them how to... I share that same concern even as a police officer because I have a gun. So I don't think that your fear is unreasonable at all.
Mm-hmm. 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 But when you said that the number of permits or applications for permits is rising, about what percentage? I mean, is it double, triple?
Oh, it's more than double. Easy. It's unbelievable. and we stay busy processing requests for CPL. The classes that people have to take to qualify to get a CPL are always full. I mean, there's so many people carrying guns legally now. But the truth is, we don't really have problems for the most part out of people who carry guns legally. They're doing it for all the right reasons.
Right.
Our problem right now is people who are carrying them illegally. People who are carrying them legally, we don't usually have problems with them.
Because it's for their own protection, not to go out and do harm to someone.
Exactly. Right. They're generally responsible. They've had the class. They understand what the requirements are. They practice. I mean, as a person who has been carrying a gun since I was 19 years old, and I'm 65, I understand how dangerous that is, even having one in your house. And especially if you have children in there or people who may be curious about a gun. So, I mean, there are a lot of responsibility that comes with you taking that step to put that firearm in the house. You have to make sure that you secure it properly so that people who should have access to it can't get access to it. If you have to use it or pull it or threaten to use it, you have to make sure that you're handling it in the proper way so you don't shoot yourself. Unfortunately, a lot of times when people have firearms in the house, if somebody does come in the house, a lot of times the person is shot with their own gun. So there are a lot of things that go along with the decision to have a gun. And if you're going to do it, you need to do it right. You need to practice. You need to understand how to secure it safely and how to handle it safely. Because if you don't, it's a very dangerous thing.
Like Michael Leland on that.
Yeah, I had a question. Hey, how you doing, Sheriff Napoleon? This is Michael Imhotep, and how you doing, Leslie?
Hey, how are you, my brother?
I'm all right. So Charlene has a total of 4 Cass Tech grads on here tonight. But anyway.
All righty.
and the Cass Tech alumni president.
Right.
You know, I'm off.
Right. So, right. So, Sheriff. Absolutely.
I know how to put a show together.
Yeah. Hey, Sheriff Napoleon. So I had a question for you, and I'm getting some questions on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, as well. But August 7th, 2020, Black Enterprise reported that Black Americans now account for the highest increase in gun sales of any demographic. And they cited March 13th, 2020, when coronavirus in the U.S. was declared a pandemic. What have you, I know you talked about an increase in gun permits. Have you seen an increase in gun permits, gun sales directly tied to coronavirus being a pandemic declared in the U.S.? And what is that correlation between an increase in gun sales, increase in gun permits, and a pandemic or global pandemic like coronavirus?
I think that's a very good question.
Thank you.
The permitting of handguns, which require you to have a permit to buy, has gone down because it's hard to get an appointment to get in. So that has slowed down because we just can't do it because of the pandemic. Where you have seen a big increase is in the purchase of long guns, rifles and semi-automatic rifles, and ammunition. You can't even buy. You could try to go into a store and buy ammunition. They will limit how much they will sell you.
Right.
Because that's the
now,
demand
is that high. Because supply and demand, or is that because maybe they're monitoring that you might be in some terrorist organization?
They claim it's the demand. All I know is you cannot go into a gun store and buy, say, for instance, if you wanted 20 boxes of 9mm shell, they won't sell them to you.
Why do you need that many anyway?
Well, if you want to practice.
Right.
Oh, okay. I mean, it goes to show you that I'm not, Right.
Yeah. If you
so when you go to these gun ranges, I guess you call them, will you take them? Now, are those places still open during COVID?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I would hate for people to just go purchase a gun without having lessons on how to use the gun.
Well, you would hope not, but you can buy a long gun without having any kind of training with it. A handgun, to carry it, you have to have a class to show that you have some, what I will say, rudimentary knowledge of how to handle it, because we have police officers who accidentally discharge their weapons. And these are people who have been training with them for hours upon hours. That's why I'm telling you, if you're going to do that, you really need to make sure that someone who understands gun safety is really training you about, not putting your hand on the trigger unless you're ready to fire it. Don't point it at anything that you're not trying to shoot. I mean, there are some basic rules that if you follow them, you're going to be reasonably safe. But a lot of people, I've been at the gun range with people, and they literally skip it. It's like, stop what you're doing, don't move, because they'll have a gun and pointed in a direction that is absolutely dangerous as it could possibly be, and you don't want them to touch it to make sure that they don't accidentally pull the trigger while it's pointed that way. So, wow. I mean, a gun is a very... Go ahead, Mike.
No, I just said, wow. Go ahead.
Yeah. So,
Mike, do you have a gun? Do you shoot a gun?
Charlene, over open airways, I don't do that.
Okay.
If somebody run up on me, they find out what I have or don't have, whatever. I don't do that. I don't do that over open airways.
Well, we don't want anybody to run up on you.
But what I would say. But what I would
see this trend as continuing like this, Sheriff, that more and more people will still apply to commit that gun sales are these gun shows. That's where the problem was. A lot of people getting guns who could not buy them legally, but they could go to the gun shows and buy them.
Well, you can buy them legally, but it's a different process. At those gun shows, it's a lot quicker. And especially if you go to different parts of the country where they have more lenient purchase requirements, and that's what the gun shows do. So, people go there because it's easier to buy the gun. But, I mean, getting a gun in the United States, unfortunately, is almost as easy as going to the grocery store. Getting a gun is not a hard thing to do, both legally and illegally. You have places in certain communities where you could ask almost any kid, hey, if I wanted to go to buy a gun, where would I go? And they can tell you that you can go and buy a gun illegally.
Right.
Okay, we're going to have to go to break in a minute and say goodbye. One more question. One more question for the sheriff. Do you feel that, because felons can't buy a gun legally, they cannot have a gun, but if someone committed a felony, and when you hear the word felony, it always sounds like something really bad, like a murder or something. But all felonies are not serious, but it sounds serious. So you get a felony when you're 18 and you're 50 and you feel like you need a gun. Can you never have that erased from your record? Is there any way around it?
Yeah, that's one of the things that is happening with the reform movement. Unfortunately, you see a lot of young make mistakes, and they're not the same person. I have a very dear friend of mine who had a felony, 17 years old, related to stealing a car. He got caught in a stolen car, and for years that prevented him from doing a whole lot of things. But never got in trouble again. Just hardworking, honest guy, but that was hanging over his head. And he's in his 60s now, but ultimately he was able to get that erased. There comes a time when should have an opportunity for redemption. And if you demonstrate that you really have changed your course and that you're no longer a person who's a threat, you have to have some measure of opportunity for folks else just has seen no benefit for being a law-abiding citizen. If what I did 20 years ago is hanging over my head today, and it stops me from getting a decent job or it stops me from getting a certain kind of license, I believe in redemption, and that people can change, and the law should recognize that they have changed, as long as you have some strict requirements, and they should be able to expunge their records.
So is this something that people can do now, or is it a program that's being worked on?
And the governor,
who's going to make that decision?
Lieutenant Governor and I have had many conversations about this. I think he's about to, and I think State Representative Sherry Gay Dagnogo, who I suggest you might call about this, because she sponsored a bill that will address all of those issues. And you're going to see, I believe, if it can get through both chambers of the state legislature, you're going to see a difference in what you can and cannot expunge. Under the current law, you can't expunge what they consider a violent felony ever. It stays with you forever. And you can't even expunge a misdemeanor. You can expunge some felonies that they consider nonviolent, a shoplift, passing a bad check, but a break-in to a house, no. A person who, an assaultive type crime, no. So they're trying to come up with something that is reasonable as it relates to the amount of time and whatever crime you committed, to see when you can say, hey, I've been good for 40 years. I should not have to go to my grave with it over my head. I support that.
We'll keep an eye on that.
Well, this is an example of how elections have consequences. An example of how elections have consequences, and politics impacts every aspect of our lives. Okay, this is another reason why elections are important and to hold elected officials accountable on the other side of the election.
Amen.
I agree.
Better than that.
Leslie?
Can't say it any better.
Thank you.
I'm here. And what do you think about that? Would you like to see this implemented?
To have the records expunged?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I believe people can change.
Your life.
And the world is far too circumstantial. There are a lot of reasons why things can go the way that they go. And I think you always need to have the option to bring relief to those individuals who have really committed to changing their lives.
Amen. Right. I agree with that.
I concur. Okay, well, I appreciate you. It's always a pleasure to have
thanks,
you on
Sheriff.
the show. You bring so much to the table. And you great luck. How long have you been sheriff now?
I've been sheriff 11 years and 12 next July. I can't believe it.
Well, you keep getting reelected, so you're doing something right.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. It was a pleasure. My CT alum and I'm Charlene. Thanks. I appreciate you.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Sheriff.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Michael and Leslie, stay with us.
Okay.
We're going to take a quick break, and we will keep talking about America.
Okay, Charlene.
All right. Everybody stand by. Okay. All right, everybody stand by. Okay, so we're on commercial break. I'm a guest on Charlene Mitchell's show on 9:10 a.m. on the Superstation WFDF. That's the radio station my show was on also every Sunday night, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, your network show. So on tonight's show, her show is Mind Your Business. Oftentimes she deals with business, African-American owned businesses, business issues, entrepreneurship in the city of Detroit, things like that. But with what's going on tonight, and because of the plot to kidnap our Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, because I live in Detroit, because of that being exposed, beyond 13 members of two Michigan militia groups arrested, all of them white men. We posted here on our Facebook fan page, we posted a number of articles dealing with this. So because of that, and then the vice presidential debate that took place last night, she said, look, changed my entire lineup for tonight. I want to have you on, so I'm on. Okay, listen to my show Sunday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the African History Network show. Everybody watching right here, share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in, and then Friday, October 9th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be on Roland Martin's daily digital show, Roland Martin Unfiltered. I'll be a panelist, so I'll be making my debut on Roland Martin Unfiltered Friday, October 9th, 2020, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's on 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We share the broadcast here on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. Okay, so read the articles. Okay, how's the audio now? Hold on, this is starting to act up here. How's the audio now? I have about 60 tabs open here in Facebook, in what you call it, so stand by. Let me try to. Hold on, stand by, everybody. All right. Yeah, so I'll be on Friday. Hold on, let's see here. Okay, can you all hear me? Okay. All right. So we'll be back from break in a couple of minutes. Yeah, this plot here with Wednesday night after the vice presidential debate, we did our debate analysis, recap, and fact check here. Go back and watch that. It got 20,000 views so far. Go back and watch that. On my Sunday night show, fact checking of the statements that they made, because I couldn't get to everything. I did 2.5 hours last night, and I couldn't get to everything. But reading this story here, dealing with this militia group, there's two militia groups. 13 men charged in the alleged plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. 13 men, these are all white men, charged in alleged plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Now, also, WXYZ Channel 7, which is a local TV news station here in Detroit, they're reporting that photo shows two suspects in kidnapping plot in Michigan Capitol. So two of the men, they were at the Michigan Capitol when they had these protests at the Michigan State Capitol, and you had assault rifles, things like that. This was a few months ago, and Donald Trump was tweeting "Liberate Michigan" and encouraging these white supremacists to go, these militia groups to go and demand that Governor Gretchen Whitmer open back up Michigan. Okay, Trump feeding this nonsense, the reasons why he must be voted out of office. So more than a dozen men were arrested on federal and state charges in connection with an alleged foiled plot to kidnap Michigan's Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. All right, we're coming back from break. Stand by.